Welcome back, everybody, to a first episode of the Fuel Injection Podcast. As Layla mentioned in previous video, the intro video, we had some complications and kind of starting over.
Basically,
Yeah. So
starting fresh, clean slate.
this time it's going to be a whole lot different. Instead of having other people on, it's going to be us. Not that we might not have other people on, but
It's not gonna be a every episode thing. So.
yeah. So little different format, same name, different format, little. So
Basically,
we decided for the very first episode here, before we jump into the main meat of everything that she's wanting to do, it's going to kind of start off as a bit of an interview with the creator of the Fuel Injection Podcast. You've done a lot of interviews, though, haven't you?
I wouldn't say a lot. I mean, wasn't exactly famous or anything. But I had been kind of in the Drive Tribe days and stuff. There was another podcast, a Drive Tribe kind of based podcast. That I was on actually before I started Fuel Injection. That they kind of interviewed me and stuff. After I started Fuel Injection and kind of moved away from their podcast, and so I did that one. Of course, we've done stuff together for your channel and food interviews and stuff like that. So if those count as interviews, a lot of them was just us talking and trying out new foods. So
hey, it was a lot of fun.
yeah,
though.
they were fun. I had fun.
fun.
So I've done some interviews, but not like gangs of them or anything.
There you go. Well, hey, fair enough. But this time I thought get a little background on you, leading up to where we're at now. So, first of all, you're from Houston, right?
Absolutely.
Texas, born and raised.
Yep.
All right.
Texas my whole life.
Yeah. So, started driving in Texas.
Yep. Got my driver's license in Texas. Started learning how to drive technically at the age of 7, when my parents thought it'd be a good idea to get their 7-year-old daughter a golf cart.
There you go.
We had just moved up the street and they had wanted a bigger property, more lands and stuff. And it was a triple lot. It was about half an acre. And I say was, they still live there. And it was kind of cool though, because my parents would let me drive the golf cart around in the yard and stuff and kind of get used to driving as much as you can when you're 7. And so that was cool. And then fast forward to 15, started driving actual cars. And then I got my license and stuff there, and kind of just, being a car person, just kind of fell in love with driving. So
right.
It's kind of a, I don't know, bit of a human nature type thing. You just kind of something I like to do, and I'll kind of want to do at some point. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So, what was the first car you started driving?
Day to day, it was mainly my mom's Audi, which then became mine, as you know. But for the viewers, it's an Audi A6 with the 2-liter turbo engine in it. And it was between that and my dad's Toyota Tacoma. I preferred the Audi. I've never been a huge truck person. There's a few that I've kind of grown to like now. But back then I definitely was way less of a truck person, so I gravitated more towards the Audi, and just that engine, it felt kind of more my speed, a bit more peppy and kind of tuned for a bit more sporty driving, as much as you can get for a mid-sized sedan. And that I kind of gravitated toward driving that, and then my parents kind of let me have that, and my mom got a Lexus, and that was okay to drive, but I've always just liked that Audi and driving that. So that was the main one that I drove and still to this day do, clearly. So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Well, I'd love to come back to more about the Audi here in a minute. But what I'd like to do now is also, what's some other, like, any exotics or anything cool that you've driven, and any place cool you've driven them?
Yeah. Well, of course, my dad started to train me on how to drive stick shift. Um, and he has a 1966 E-Type Jag that he was kind of trying to show me how to do that on. And if you're not familiar with the E-Type, that clutch is pretty finicky. Not as much as others, but definitely not the easiest, not the best. For someone like me who was a beginner, in that, and so, um, but I drove that in the parking lot a lot, and then just I don't know, just other things got in the way, just kind of got away from it, but I have technically driven that.
Yeah. Top up or top down?
Both.
Nice.
A little bit of both.
Nice.
Definitely prefer the top down.
Oh, and a Jag you have to. Especially type.
Yeah, but I have done both.
Fair enough.
Depending on the weather, the day that we were going out, and for him to teach me and stuff. So did that, and then it's been a few times my dad and I have gotten like kind of exotic type supercars, just for fun. One of them was for my high school graduation. The other two just because we both like cars and just wanted to just have fun for a couple days. And so the first one we got was a Ferrari 458 Spider. Okay. And that, at the time, I was only 13. And so obviously couldn't drive it on the street. But actually the same parking lot that I was learning to drive stick shift in, he took me there and I got to send it as much as I could in the parking lot. And it was fun though. I definitely liked getting to kind of have fun in it for as much as I could.
Nice.
Definitely cool to just drive around in and be passenger in. A couple years later, we got a McLaren 570S, I think 570S for a couple days. Though again, just for fun. And I still wasn't of like driver's license age. I think I was about 15. I was close, but not quite got my license yet. And so again, just kind of drove around the parking lot and kind of did a couple sends and stuff like that. And then when I graduated high school, his kind of high school graduation gift to me was to go to it was a different car, like exotic car place that we got it from, but it was a Lamborghini Huracan, and we went there and got that for I think 2 days as well. And that that place was cool because they let me drive that as much as I wanted, as long as my dad was with me, because I wasn't like of the age to be, filling out applications for, cars like that. I think the age in Texas is 25. But I could still drive it as long as my dad was with me. So I I drove that one. He did.
Don't blame you.
That was cool. There's a couple of tunnels in Houston, down by the park, the kind of biggest park in Houston called Memorial Park, and there's tunnel opportunity.
Tunnel's always good with an engine that sounds like that.
And that V10 in those tunnels, oh my gosh, that just lit me up. I had a grand old time with that.
I bet.
So, as far as driving exotics / classics, that's the extent. I've been in others, but my driving experience kind of caps there for those. So,
okay. Well, thinking of experience in drives, what was like your favorite driving route in Houston?
That's a combination of a lot of streets. Houston being one of the top 5 biggest cities in all of the U.S. There's not a lot of like country type streets, kind of windy streets or anything like that. And so, um, but I did have my little drive I would take most nights. Um, you know that because I would
Yes.
talk to you.
Yes, I do.
And so I would go from my parents' house down a street called Heights Boulevard. It's because my parents' house is in a neighborhood called the Heights, and so it was a long kind of street. It's one lane each way, and then a walking path down the middle, and it goes all throughout that neighborhood. And so I'd go down there and go basically down to Memorial Park, and I'd go through those tunnels and um, kind of go slightly outside of the city limits technically. Um, and there you got a bit of as windy of a street you could get in Houston. Um, but I forgot the name of the neighborhood that was in. But if you just kept going past the park and you kept going on that same street through those tunnels, it would take you back through these fancy neighborhoods and fancy houses. It was great because I used to go in the evenings and I'd see the sunset, and so it was cool. It was as scenic as I thought I was gonna get. And then I came here. Teaser for the upcoming questions, but
Now, this is the same drive you took me on, right? When I came to see you.
Same drive that we went on together, and then from there I went kind of back down to more kind of straight type streets, then just kind of back through the city a bit. Houston was kind of a bit hard pressed to find windy streets like that. So that was about all I was gonna get.
So basically, it's all arrow straight and flat, basically.
Yeah, Texas, unless you go out into West Texas, and even then, it's kind of tough to find at times. But Texas is incredibly flat for the most part, and so, and being in a city, a lot of the streets they're kind of a grid, and so yeah, they're pretty straight. And so I made the best of it. I still had fun with it. But that was the coolest drive in Houston that I had done. So
I, as she said, I did get to go on this ride with her, and it is very urban city.
Yeah.
And it is a lot of just straight from red light to red light kind of things, and until you get out to where you said where you get out in that one part where there is a little bit of bends in the road, a little wind, and there's actually a few trees. So coming from where I come from, it was cool to see it, but as I've driving experience, yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
And with that, I guess we'll segue right into that. So what happened is she left Houston to come here. And so she came here to see me as I went to go see her. She come see me. And she had her car with her, of course, the Audi in question. And so first thing you said was you wanted to go for a ride. So one of a few things that'll get brought up is, of course, the Southern Ohio Forest Rally is here. So I had to show you where they do the race through the middle. Well, I won't say through the middle of town, but through our park that's in the middle of town, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you got to you get to play on that now on a daily. So
yeah, well, not quite a daily, but I definitely could if I wanted to.
It's just right there.
Yeah, it's just up there. 5 minutes, not even from the house. So, yeah, that was cool to do. Of course, when I was in school in Boston, I didn't drive. That was kind of tough. Didn't like that. But even if I had driven in Boston a lot, I probably wouldn't be here because the Boston drivers, if any of y'all watching have been to Boston, driven in Boston, live in Boston, you probably know that those people are on a different level of driving. They are very much every man for himself. Yeah, that's a bit terrifying. That's a different level. So I didn't drive there, didn't have a car there. But then of course I was in Alabama for a few months, and that was cooler because there was some hills and stuff. And I got a bit of a prelude into what it was gonna be like coming here, and then getting to drive to the park and stuff, and do the stage. That was cool. And then of course, well, Polk Hollow. There was a street that about maybe like a mile or so, mile and a half, from where we live, that is called Polk Hollow. And when I came in September, first time here to see him, um, he said, "Okay, let's go to Polk Hollow." And
Well, the first thing is when I said Poke Hollow, you immediately started making fun of the name. You was like, "Where are you taking me?"
yeah, I was like, "What? Who names a street?" And of course, it's it's spelled Polk, like polk. But when I heard it, my brain heard poke, like Poke. So I was like, "Who's poking a hollow? What's this name of this street? What's going on?" And so I didn't get it. But
But after a few minutes, you quickly realized driving Ohio roads is considerably different.
yes, it was very windy. Of course, we'll do a upcoming video on specifically Polk because I've driven it now a lot. It's kind of my go-to. But yeah, very windy, lots of hills, curves, basically the opposite, a complete 180 to driving in Houston. And so that I've been here 6 months now, and I'm still getting used to just having hills, having curves. Um, it's cool. That was just like kind of like what, like those streets that have hills on them.
It's pretty big ones.
Yeah, some pretty big ones. So that was cool. I mean, when I drove it went one end to the other, and then turned around and just did it all over again because it was that much fun.
You blew through some gas the first.
Oh yeah, yeah, blew through. Yeah, I don't even know how much gas, but
Yeah.
but I didn't care. I was having fun.
Well, that's what it's about, though. That's what being a driving enthusiast is about. You don't really care; it's what you enjoy to do.
Yeah.
So, and you kind of got to push the Audi a little bit to kind of see what the old girl can do. And,
Definitely.
yeah. So, is that the most exciting road you've got to push it on?
You're gonna have to define exciting because there's been other ones that since then and since coming here that I've driven that have been exciting in not necessarily the best way. One I almost yeah, I thought we were gonna die.
I know which one you're
There
talking
again,
about.
plug for upcoming video. A lot more on that, but that was exciting, but also terrifying. Um, Polk Hollow is probably the most exciting in the sense that if you're wanting to do a drive and not wanting to go too far away from home or too far out of town, but still get a nice drive in and still have a lot of fun, um, you'll definitely get that driving Polk Hollow. It's definitely, um, I don't even know what I was trying to say, but
Okay, well,
it's fun. I like it.
well, with that being a thing, too, you've also been around the state a little bit. You've kind of covered a little area now. What's the driving like compared to Houston? I mean, I know you said Houston was flat and straight, and if anybody out there has been to Ohio, we don't do flat and straight as a
No.
rule. So,
No.
if you want to expand on any of that, just
Um, yeah, Houston, as I said, is pretty boring, pretty predictable, flat, straight. Um, it's very much, if I could say, kind of like beginner, intermediate, or expert. It's kind of that beginner level driving. Nothing too exciting, nothing too terrifying. The most terrifying thing is going to be if someone cuts you off, or other drivers, not the actual streets that you're driving on. But Ohio is very much. I wouldn't quite say it's always that expert level of driving, but it's a lot more exciting and engaging. Those hills, those bends in the street, those windy streets. Of course, where we're at, there's um, the state park not far from us. And so there's some great scenery too. Houston it's a city, so there's just skyscrapers, big brick buildings, things like that. And so even for the scenery of driving it's very lackluster. In Ohio is very much the opposite. Especially in fall. Close to when I got here, it was very, all the leaves were in bloom and changing colors and the foliage, things like that. Um, that added to the driving dynamic and experience that made it a lot more fun. Um, and added a new level that I wasn't used to.
Right.
And so that's also a big bonus for me, at least, being here and driving here.
Okay.
So
Well, the other thing is, of course, you've gotten to drive the Audi around a lot here and kind of kind of push it. I won't say to its limit, but you've got to push it a little bit here and there and see what it how it does. But for some of these roads that we will get into in later videos, um, has it changed your perspective on cars and what you would find more fun to drive?
um well, not totally. Um, that's a tough question because when you mentioned that to me a couple nights ago, and I was kind of thinking about it, and since then, kind of tried to think if those cars that are only ones that you'd want to drive in cities like Houston or only ones that you'd want to drive here. Um, and it honestly depends because, like I said before, driving the Ferrari and the Lamborghini and McLaren in Houston with my dad for those few days, that was still fun, even though we were in a city and there was a lot less different places to drive and things like that, and the streets were pretty predictable. Um, but being here, you could still take those cars and have fun in a different way. Like you could take any of those down Polk Hollow or any of the other places that we've driven together and still have a lot of fun, but in a much different way. That taking those in Houston is more of like you're gonna go out for a leisurely cruise and just kind of not to sound bad, but almost show off the car a little bit and kind of be like, hey, like let's have
Bit more
fun.
posing.
Yeah. In a way. Hopefully that doesn't sound too bad, but kind of just out for a nice cruise. And here you can actually put those cars more to their limit and have a lot more fun with them. Here you can still just cruise in them and just kind of go out for a leisurely drive, but you can also thrash them around and just kind of get sideways and smiling kind of thing. So it depends on what you're wanting to take, what you're wanting to drive.
Right. And of course, when we break down certain routes and roads that we find she likes and likes to drive, they will also do a car comparison, just a little there again, sneak peek, what kind of cars and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want to throw a little thing out to our across the pond friends over there and car enthusiasts. America does have more than just straight roads. We do have roads that have curves, and we enjoy them a lot. So,
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
But yeah, so I'm first of all, I'm really glad because I know when you first started finding roads here with hills and the curves, not just Poke Hollow, but some of the others, you just really fell in love with the driving experience here as opposed to what she was dealing with before. She also had some terrifying moments. Some of the roads around here,
Yes.
you do have to.
Some of them, if you're not watching out, if you're not paying full attention, let's just say you'll have time to call your insurance company on the way down that hill. To quote Top Gear. So yeah, that you're gonna be dead
Yeah.
or severely injured. On
There's
some of
also
those,
some if you don't watch, some airborne opportunities.
Oh, absolutely.
You go from car driver to pilot kind of quickly.
You get a bit Ken Block, Travis Pastrana, any of those. Yeah, just yeeting that car into the air and just seeing how far you can take it. Yeah, so some of those you gotta be careful. And you gotta definitely be familiar with what you're driving. And know the limits of the vehicle that you're driving.
That's true.
Because though again, if you're in a supercar or something with a bit more power, and you want to have fun, if you're not familiar with that car, get 500 horsepower or whatever is gonna seem like a million if you take it up some of those streets.
That's true.
So
now one thing too before we switch, of course, cars and tunnels sounds amazing.
Absolutely.
That's always, if you want to really hear the exhaust note, a car in a tunnel is a brilliant way. But now being here in Southern Ohio, some of these roads are big hills on both sides, which kind of gives you a nice echoey sound of an exhaust
through the hills.
Have you grown to appreciate that, or have
definitely.
a different aspect of that?
Definitely, yeah. I honestly, because Texas and Houston specifically, there's no hills at all. I hadn't even considered trying to get an exhaust note or seeing what kind of an exhaust note can be had from driving through hills and things like that, mountains and stuff like that. And so being here with all the hills and stuff, it's cool to hear, and it's a lot different to just blasting through a tunnel. That exhaust note and the engine sound through the hills is a lot more echoey and sounds a lot more kind of, I don't know if this is gonna make any sense whatsoever. But it's a lot more of a full sound and almost a bit orchestral. Like if you go to see like a classical concert and that full sound of like that huge orchestra, it sounds like that. A lot more like that as opposed to just a quick blast through the tunnel and then it's loud and then it's quiet and it's gone. So it's a lot more of a long lasting kind of sound.
So more like would it be fair to compare like hearing a band in a say a pub play as opposed to in a stadium play?
Definitely, yeah. The stadium is a lot more of a full sound, obviously, and it's the same with taking it through these hills, driving through these hills. Folks is in a pub is gonna be very loud for a certain amount of time, and then it's just gonna be okay. That's it.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, well, something else want to get into, of course, coming from Houston, one of the things you didn't have a lot of there was snow. And of course, you got here in the middle-ish of October, which give you enough time to kind of drive, get used to, as you say, hills and different road styles and things, for it to turn to quite a snowstorm for a while. How'd you enjoy that?
Well, where do I even begin? Because that Monday morning in beginning of January, when the initial kind of snowstorm hit, we got about what, like 8 inches or so?
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that, 7 or 8 inches, and I had to take you to work, and I had never driven in snow. I had
5:30 in the morning.
Once on ice in Houston, the very kind of once in a blue moon kind of things in Houston, in 2021, and we did get a bit of an ice storm and stuff and a sprinkling of snow, but it melted quite quickly, and so I had never truly had any experience with just snow, and course, the Audi is a sedan, so there's not a whole lot of ground clearance. There's some, but not what you're gonna need for 8 inches, throwing a hole in them. And so 5:30 in the morning, as he said, taking him to work. Yeah, you gotta be careful getting on the highway, because you'll just do a full power slide trying to get on the highway and stuff, and of course accelerating up to get to kind of more highway speed is you gotta be careful, because that snow, you don't have as much traction, and so you're gonna be a lot more likely to slide and kind of not have control of the vehicle.
Got to test out that Audi Quattro.
Oh yeah, absolutely, to its full potential. It was working brilliantly. That morning we made it safely, there and back home, and I was like, okay, made it through that. Mostly thanks to you telling me how to handle certain things, and slow down before the light, make sure people fully stop before you start going at the green light. But fast forward a few weeks, maybe a month later, coming back, pulling into the alleyway here to pull into the backyard, and I just high-sided the whole car. There was some young men working, trying to shovel out the snow from the alleyway, and we were pulling in, and I didn't want to hit them, of course, and so I tried to stop in time to not hit them, and ground clearance in sedans, not brilliant. Snow got packed underneath the car, and I high-sided there, and about a third of the back of the car was still in the street. And that was fun. Yeah, it took about half an hour or so to shovel that out, and that's when Quattro failed me, because there's not much Audi Quattro 4-wheel drive can do when your wheels aren't on the ground.
Everything fails at that point.
Yeah, you got no traction, you got no all-wheel drive, it's just spinning. And so that was an experience. I got kind of hit. It was like, just all the winter experiences all in one winter.
Well, then you had mention of sideways and smiling, but I have a feeling
smiling.
There was one instance where you got sideways and not smiling.
I was not smiling. No, I know what you're talking about. I had headed out one night to get us pizza, just up the street here at Marco's Pizza, and I thought, okay, not too far. It had just started to snow maybe an hour or so prior to that, and it was a bit more of a wet snow, and I don't have winter tires or snow tires on the Audi. I just had what I had in Houston and Alabama and stuff. I just had the tires that have been on there for not too long, but long enough. And so I was going up the hill. There's a street here that goes onto the main kind of avenue, and it's a turn straight up into a hill, and I went on that corner to go up the hill, and let's just say the car wanted to keep going straight and I wanted to go left, and I ended up kind of starting to slide, and then there was a guy in front of me that was slowing down for the light ahead. And by that time, I had kind of got the car back, fine, stopped, fishtailing, sliding around. And then saw that guy start to slow down for the light, and it being a wet snow, very much a lack of traction. Of course, my tires didn't help with that, and I started to slide again, and I thought I was going to crash into the minivan ahead of me, and so to avoid that, I saw a parking lot to my left. And I thought, I'm going to just go into that parking lot so I avoid having an accident. And I, turned the wheel to go left into the parking lot. Car kept going straight. So car was sideways, but I was moving like that. I was moving forward, and the I was just looking into the businesses in that parking lot. So that was, sideways and crapping myself. Good thing I have brown seats in that car.
But you survived it all.
I did. Yeah. I did. I was like, man.
And now that
I ain't doing that again.
And now that jump in, does that change your opinion after going through the snow and the winter here on a second car you would ever own?
Oh, absolutely. I immediately thought after the high siding incident in the alleyway here that we're gonna need something with ground clearance. So some kind of SUV or at least a crossover with a bit more ground clearance to try to mitigate high siding and lots of snow issues. And Toyota, Subaru, something along those lines with better all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive systems. Of course, there was one morning it got that about down to -6, something like that.
Yeah.
And when it gets cold, your car battery has a tendency to not want to be a battery. Thankfully that didn't happen to us, but it probably came close. There was a couple times it took a little bit longer to fire up in the morning. And so some Toyota Subaru, some a bit more quality, some a bit more dependable.
Remote start.
Or that, absolutely, yeah.
So you don't have to crawl through the back door to get in your car?
Yeah, that was fun.
Another first?
Of course went out to start the car, let it warm up, get any snow, ice off the windshield and stuff like that before taking them to work, and I went to the driver's door. Okay, I'm not going in there. Door handle did not pull at all. Door frozen shut, door handle frozen in place. Go to the back door on driver's side, didn't work. Went to your passenger door, didn't work. Finally, last door I could possibly try, before getting the flamethrower out, was back passenger door. And it was still a bit frozen, but less so, and I was able to get in and basically, as you said, crawl through the whole car up to the driver's seat to start it.
I am gonna pick on you a bit here if you don't care.
Go ahead. It's happened before.
We were up at my parents' house and they gave her a snow scraper. If anybody who knows, it's a long handle, got a scraper on one end and a brush. And when they handed it to you, what was your first thing?
Well, being from Houston, I had dealt with snow, so I didn't know that I was gonna want to bring that in the house with me. So I took it and put it in the trunk.
Well, okay, since you went there with it, her first thing was, what do I need that for?
Yeah, I did say that. I forgot about that bit. Yes, I did. In fact, I fully admit, stupid moment, Southern American moment here. Yeah, I did not know what that contraption was for. I did not know what that tool was for, and I said, thanks, but what's this for? And you proceeded to explain, well, that's for when the snow comes. And it's a dandy good thing they gave us that, because not but two days later I was out there using it.
Yeah. Well,
once I got it out of the trunk that had frozen shut.
Yeah.
So,
now
they keep it in the house.
Now to go to that is, she said, well, I'll just put that in the trunk, and we all told you that's a bad idea because your trunk will freeze shut. And as you said a second ago, it's exactly what happened.
Yep. I thought I was gonna be fine. And so I'll just quick PSA for all y'all out there who might be in my situation one day. Keep your snow scraper and brush in your house, at least somewhere easily accessible where you don't have to go through frozen doors in your car to access it. So keep it easily available.
Yep. So I had to poke a little fun because that was just funny.
Yes, it was.
And that was irony 101. I mean, it was.
That was, I stuck my foot in my mouth.
It was so funny because I woke up and I was like, well, where's your ice scraper? And you said, in the trunk. And the trunk was frozen shut. So, yeah, that was.
We had to go in through the back doors and fold the middle seat of the back seat down and get it that way and just, grab it that way. And thankfully, the back doors were not too frozen to where we could get in.
Yeah.
So.
Luckily, it hasn't been that bad of a winter, so.
Yeah. Oh, you mean it gets warm?
Oh, yes. Just a real quick one, though, that was also a thing, too, is the cold. Woke up one morning, as you said, -6.
Yep.
That was a first for you, too, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, and I'll just poke a little fun at myself here. Of course, Houston, it never truly gets that cold. It generally doesn't go below mid-30s, maybe 40s. Mid-30s is pushing it. I mean, that's pretty not likely. And so we don't usually use gloves or hats or toboggans, things like that. And so I went out there one morning to get the snow off the windshield and scrape the ice off, and didn't think about it, just knew how to go out there and do that, start the car. And I didn't bring gloves with me. I didn't have clothes on. And he comes out and was like, you need to put some gloves on. You're gonna have frostbite. Your hands are gonna start burning up and you're gonna feel like they're on fire, and then they're just gonna go numb and it's gonna be a problem. And thankfully that didn't happen that day, but yeah, ever since then I've been like, gloves are helpful.
They're handy. They really help, especially when you're out there trying to get ice off a car.
Yeah, we're out there for 5-10 minutes trying to take care of that. It's definitely useful. So other thing to watch out for: get your gloves and winter hats, toboggans, anything like that. So
yes, well, that will be a whole thing too. Is maybe we'll do that over on mine. We'll discuss the adjusting to the cold and the different.
We can.
Things, but for now, any other stuff that you want to touch on in the driving through winter, or just since you've been here, experiences, fun?
I mean, in a way, it was kind of cool to get to drive in snow. Because like I said before, I hadn't done that. I only had a very brief kind of experience with ice. In Houston a few years back. And so snow was cool to get to experience that and kind of start learning how to handle it and drive in it and prepare for it and stuff like that. But no, I think we touched on pretty much everything, and if I haven't said it enough, I'll say it again. I've had fun driving here.
So that's good. That's good.
I had fun so far.
I know when you, like I said once before, you first got here and you realized the curves and the hills and the complexity of some of the roads. You was always smiling and driving and just having a great time. So
absolutely.
And we're gonna go find more roads and stuff to cruise around on, and see if we can find something better than the stuff she's already found. And we'll come back and we'll do you have a list of things you want to do, and
absolutely.
Comparisons. We'll get into that in a future video. One last thing though before we go. First of all, yesterday, well, from when this is recorded, was your birthday.
Yes.
And you've been here in small town Ohio for roughly 6 months. So
thereabouts, yeah.
5-6 months. And of course, coming from Houston, you big city to this little town. And then we went up to Columbus, Ohio for your birthday dinner.
Yes, indeed.
And it seems that you've assimilated to small town life pretty quickly.
Now, my mom would argue otherwise, but I'm still fully in the belief that I have definitely gotten used to and fully assimilated to small town life. Because I don't know if any of y'all have driven in Columbus, but It's stressful. I thought being, Houston all my life, having driven in Houston for a number of years prior to coming here, that I'd be fine driving to Columbus for dinner. And yeah, no, no, it was fine up until getting on 71, I-71 or 270. It
270,
was
right in
both
that
those
area.
highways. Um, by the main city though, that was quite stressful. People, they either fully, as you said, fully on the gas or fully on the brake. And they will cut you off. They do not care. It is a bit, it's not quite as bad as Boston, but it's a bit more like that where it's just people just do them and it's kind of everyone for themselves. And yeah, that's quite stressful. Did not like it. It's a good thing we found out that the Brazilian steakhouse that we ate at can deliver food to our house. So we don't have to go back up to Columbus and deal with that nonsense again.
There you go.
So
So,
yeah.
is Columbus worse than Houston?
See, I am tempted to say yes, but that may just be because I had gotten used to driving in Houston, so I may have been blocking out subconsciously a lot of the cons of driving in big cities. Um, so to be fully fair about that, I would want to go back to Houston now after having been here for several months and try to drive there again and see if it's as bad as Columbus or worse or not as bad. See where that falls. But for now, I'm gonna say Columbus was more stressful. So
The other thing I did want to touch on too is road differences between Houston and here.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Road surface, let me specify. So.
Look, Houston is like it got carpet bombed with potholes. It's man, that city will tear up your suspension. Ask me how I know. And coming here, it's all done by private contractors, and so all the streets are well paved, well taken care of, and so it's very smooth, much better for your car suspension, um, and generally just much better to drive on. So definitely like that a lot about being here too.
Yeah, it's not as abusive. I know when you was taking me on your ride through Houston and just traveling around Houston, there was entire chunks of street missing.
Oh yeah.
Just you could rent them
Yeah.
out as 1 bedroom apartments. I mean,
Oh
it was
yeah.
just
A full family could move in there.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that was normal. And I thought it was atrocious, but
Yeah.
and I was telling you, and how that would never fly here. And then you came here, and he's like, they're sort of Austrian smooth.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And go back to the Drive Tribe days. A friend at the time that I met over on Drive Tribe and was considering doing the podcast back then with me. We got to talking one day, and he said how he was up in Minnesota, and he said that the streets over by where he was at were pretty bad. And I was like, nah, I ain't got nothing on Houston. And I actually went out and took a video of me driving down some of the streets of Houston, and yeah, it's just that camera. If you go back and watch that video, it's because the no smooth bits at all. You cannot. Not. It's you'll digest your dinner quick,
or lose it one or another.
Yeah, just projectile it all over the dash and the windshield. Yep. But yeah, Houston streets, it's a new level of awful. So.
Well, hey, I think that's about it, isn't it?
Absolutely, I think so.
We've already gave
anything else.
We've already gave a few sneak peeks of things to come out, without getting too much further into that. So, if there's anything else you want to say, I mean, this is your podcast.
Shameless
hijacked
plug.
It a bit.
Like, comment, subscribe. Of course, go check out his channel. I did link that down below in the previous channel update video that got posted a few days back. So yeah, just be on the lookout for the upcoming videos. More of the in-depth kind of driving videos and talking about some of the streets around here. So yeah.
Well, that'll be it for this one. Stay tuned. We'll have another one coming out. Might be her, might be both of us. Who knows?